G'day, guys. Welcome back to Stat Chat Sports. You're here with Steve and Tazza. Looking forward to week 9 of the Premier League. Second time around trying to record this video because my dumb ass forgot to hit record. Well, it means nothing to you guys, but I apologize to Tazza having to sit through this again. So let's get straight into it, mate. Week 9, game of the week. Couple of choices to actually go for here. There are two derbies. We've just picked one. Which one are we picking?
Look, we're going for a top six clash. We love to pick top six clashes because they're full of good football. It's the North London derby. It's Arsenal v Tottenham. We haven't really seen these two teams right near the top of the table like we are at the moment. The form that they're both in, they both have gotten there off the back of their own form. They haven't landed there by accident. They haven't landed there because everyone else is falling apart. I mean, maybe Liverpool are falling apart a little bit. It's a bit sad, but look, City are up there. City are bouncing around, and they are absolutely getting around there with them. So, huge game. Obviously, Tottenham off the back of the 6-2 win. Arsenal coming off 3-0. They're both banging in the goals, and I think there'll be plenty here again.
Yeah, it's a good game to look at. Obviously, with an honourable mention to the Manchester derby, City and United, but I think the North London derby has a bit more importance over the Manchester derby. First versus third, a point separating the two. Tottenham yet to drop a game. Yet to lose a game. So there's a lot at stake. Obviously, Tottenham will want to hold on to that 100% record. Arsenal actually, I suppose both sides for the bragging rights. You want to win a North London derby. Arsenal a bit disappointed with their result in the last season, which still had plenty to play for. Not in the positions they were currently in, they were playing for Champions League, but that game probably decided the factor of Arsenal not playing Champions League and Tottenham making it in the end. So definitely redemption on the cards for Arsenal. It's going to be a tight affair. And there's always goals in these games. There's always winners too. I feel like it's very rarely a draw in the North London derbies. Both teams well and truly go for the jugular. I could absolutely see the same thing happening here. It's at the Emirates. It's the place is going to be bouncing. It always is for a North London derby. I think given the fact that it's at Emirates, I think I'll tip my hat slightly more towards Arsenal. I mean, they're both playing, really good football. They've both conceded 7 goals. Spurs have scored 18. Arsenal scored 17. There's very, very little to separate these two sides. That's what makes it so hard to tip who's going to be the winner. The Emirates just plays a big part for me.
Yeah, on that comment about there's always a winner. We haven't seen a draw in the last 5 fixtures. So, I mean, generally there are goals and we do see a winner out of them. And I dare say it'll happen again. Both attacks are finding their groove. They're both averaging a fair whack of goals. I mean, like you said, they're basically neck and neck, attack and defence, both averaging over, I think, 2.5 goals a game. So it's a pretty good standard that they're both setting. Arsenal's probably their recent defensive, their ability to tighten up in defence is probably the biggest thing that stands out for me. The partnership of Saliba and Gabriel has really solidified that. I mean, no one really saw Saliba coming and doing the job he's doing, but he's doing it bloody well. So I think with the youth, the talent up front that they have, Arsenal, I think they can get it done too. And obviously, we want to see goals and we want to see a winner in a derby. It's a bit of a fizzer. I feel if you're not seeing a winner after all that, the build up and the entertainment sort of around it. So, yeah, I'll take Spurs. Yeah, I'll take Arsenal. Sorry, maybe that's my mind just playing on me a bit there. But no, I will take Arsenal at the Emirates. I think they can get the job done.
Yeah, we've actually we've not spoken about Tottenham before in terms of hold fire or anything like that. We Arsenal were our hold fire a few weeks ago before the game against United, and we spoke about how they hadn't really been tested against a top 6 side, and how the game against United would go for them. Obviously, they ended up losing. Still played well. A few things happened in the game, maybe tactics wise, that went against them. But they failed that test essentially. Whereas you look at Tottenham, kind of the same sort of boat really as Arsenal. Their only game against a big 6 opponent came at Chelsea in week 2, Stamford Bridge, and they got a result. They got a 2-2 result. You could argue they passed their test, I suppose. They've got the results where they need it to. Besides maybe a slight hiccup against West Ham in the 1-1 draw there, but apart from that, they've done the jobs that needed to be done. So both teams have won the games they've needed to, but Tottenham have just got the edge in terms of the fact that they passed their main test against a big 6 side. So it'd be interesting to see what Arsenal do differently against Tottenham than they did against United, because I feel like they're quite a similar team, Tottenham and United, in the way they play, at least.
Yeah, it's hard to knock Spurs here, but I just feel that Arsenal, probably with the home ground advantage, just get a little bit more. It's really hard to split this one.
Okay, Tazza, let's move on to our unpopular opinions segment. I'm going to kick us off here. My one this week is maybe not so much of an unpopular opinion, but it's definitely a big talking point, I feel, in football, and largely the Premier League at this point. And that is that American ownership in the league is killing it. It's killing the league, essentially. And a few things for me to sort of back this up here is the recent comments made by the Chelsea's new owner, essentially. He's American. He has a share in, or a consortium in the LA Dodgers in the NBL. There's a handful of American owners in England, FSG at Liverpool, the Glaziers at United. I'm sure Spurs' owners are American as well. I could be wrong there, but I can't think of the guy's name off the top of my head. Basically, these Kroenke, Arsenal, owned by American
Arsenal,
owners.
yeah.
All of these, all these big 6, besides City, they're all owned by Americans, as far as I know. And we know the situations that all the clubs really have found themselves in with these American owners. United aren't happy with theirs. Arsenal, for the past 5 years, have been begging that they move out of the club. Spurs, same sort of situation, never willing to spend money. We've not seen a great deal of the new bloke at Chelsea. Liverpool early days were probably as skeptical with FSG coming in after their previous owners before them, also American. But the comments made by the bloke, and I can't remember his name.
Todd Burley.
Todd Burley, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Basically talking about a North versus South All-Stars team, basically. Much like the All-Stars team in the NBA and in the NFL as well. The North, the AFC versus the NFC in the NFL. For me, it's as much as I'm not necessarily against the whole idea of it. It's fine if it doesn't. If it's not, if it doesn't happen, I don't care if it happens. I'm not really fussed, to be honest. But it all seems like a cash grab for me, and an idea behind a businessman, which is what all of these American owners are. They're all businessmen. They've got shares or ownerships in multiple different sports clubs, and it's all about the money. Something like that. He's even said it himself, would bring in. He actually spoke about the All-Stars game in the NBL, that it brought in about $200 million for the NBL in general, or for the what has he said here? The All-Star game essentially made them $200 million. That's just fucking more money in the pockets of the ownership of the owners for me. And I don't like it. I'm not a fan of it. The fact that these American businessmen basically come in, show very little respect and care for the clubs, and it's just about filling their pockets. That's what it's been about for the Glaziers. That's absolutely what it's been like for the Cronkies at Arsenal as well. It's it's just
FSG
something
as
I
well.
don't like. FSG as well. You know, obviously the European Super League, that was a cash grab. All of these guys were involved in it as well. It's all just about filling cash in pockets, and not so much about the fans and the the roots of English football.
Yeah, at Austin, we just don't need to Americanize everything in the bloody world.
No.
And that's what why does America have to just spread that? Look, we're getting a little bit political, but gonna spread their tentacles everywhere and touch everything and affect everything and destroy everything. I mean, America does a lot of good for the world, but holy crap, just some things need to be left alone. And they just have no passion for the game. So I completely agree with you here because they just lack. I mean, they're very passionate about their American football, their baseball. They love it. And I mean, if they had Englishmen jumping over there to change their clubs, they'd be up in arms.
The word that comes to mind is franchise.
Yes.
That's essentially what they do.
They're not clubs. They're not. There's people in these big clubs that live and breathe. They just live week to week for these clubs. And Americans are just turning them into a business. They just become a number. They become. I mean, football is a big business now. There's too much money in football for it to exist the way it did 30, 40, 50 years ago, whatever. But yeah, this whole all-star North versus South is ridiculous. I mean, not to mention how packed is the fixture list already? We want to chuck another one in there.
Yeah, and a pointless game as well. Like as outsiders looking into like the AFC and the NFC and in the NFL and the All Stars NBA games, I don't really think anyone even gives a shit about them. Nobody really cares. The players certainly don't care. I know that for a fact. They don't want to be playing. Their season's done. They want to have some time off. That's the last thing they want to be doing.
It all depends on when you put it as well. I mean, the NBA sits in the middle of the season, so that's okay. I think a lot of players do get around that. But geez, the AFC versus NFC in the NFL is half the players. I think it's played around playoff time. So half the players, if all the good ones are off playing playoffs, or they're in the last, whatever. I can't remember what they use, the semi-final. Oh, yeah, the playoffs, the wild cards, divisionals, whatever. So you don't even get the top talent anyway. And it's a throwaway game, and it always has been. Well, not always, but definitely in recent times it has been. And that's what it will become here. I mean, are clubs even going to agree to release the players for this kind of stuff? Unless they're forced to sign an agreement to release their players. They won't want to. They're not going to risk when you've got European football on the line as well. I mean, why would you risk releasing? Why would City release Kevin De Bruyne and half of their squad? I've seen the mock squads for these teams, and City make up half the squad.
It heavily favours the North.
Yes. Because I think Liverpool, United, and City all sit in the same squad.
Yeah.
I mean, why do any of these play? Well, it really only affects maybe 8 to 10 teams, for being honest.
Yeah.
And why do they want to advantage themselves if they're not getting a kickback? I mean, and then it just becomes a monetizing thing. Why are they going to release the players anyway? So it's a flawed. As good as it sounds, seeing all the best players in the same place in the league, it's way too flawed for me.
Yeah, and I saw as well. I don't know if this is true or not, but it was something that came up in my own football team's group chat this morning. This is that it was a potential proposed deal by the owner to change Chelsea from Chelsea Football Club to something along the lines of like London Chelsea Chiefs or something like that.
London Cowboys?
Could have been something like that. It could have
Oh,
been
because
something
I
like
saw
that.
that.
Yeah.
I saw the same thing. Yeah.
And I saw that, and I was just like, what the hell are they doing? Like, it's that right there is what made me have this whole discussion, want to have this discussion today. I saw that and I was like, that's just pathetic. Now that is well and truly turning it from a football club to a franchise.
That's a surefire way to really lose every bit of supporter base you've got.
Yeah.
Because no one with the right mind that actually supports that club and provide and pays, season ticket holders. Tell me one season ticket holder is going to be happy with that decision.
Yeah. You won't
So
find them.
yeah, it's no, you'd be hard pressed to find one, I reckon. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, it the Americanization of the Premier League. It whether it goes that far, I don't know, but it would kill it if we go too far.
Yeah. Well, it's good. I think we're in agreement there. We may have gone
Yeah.
a little bit too political there. So
Yeah.
if we have
I
to
definitely, I know I did.
apologize. No, that's all right. Let's move swiftly on from there. And let's hear yours.
All right. So this is sort of topical as well. Well, topical later in the year, and in a couple of months time, I think we have the World Cup coming up. Uh, I my unpopular opinion is I think we use the World Cup as a measuring stick and a metric for judging players, and I think it is quite ridiculous.
Okay. In what sense do you mean?
So we try and put we try and grade players in like he's got GOAT status. I mean, yes, if you win the World Cup plus everything else, you're probably going to have GOAT status. But there's too much of an importance placed on winning the World Cup to judge a player's career.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from, because obviously, um, it's the one. I suppose it's the one trophy that the likes of Messi and Ronaldo are yet to win. They've both won their own individual European tournaments, or not European tournaments, international tournaments, with the Euros and the Copa America. I can see where you're coming from. I think at the end of the day, the World Cup is the pinnacle of world football. Obviously, all the players want to win what they can for their club, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to wearing their country's colours and representing their country. And what more best to do than to win the biggest international tournament with your country. But I agree. I don't think that shouldn't be sort of representative of that player's success if they can't win a World Cup. There's plenty of world class players, both past, present. It's going to happen in the future as well, that are going to go down the road and be classed as up there in discussion for the greatest players in the world, that will never touch the World Cup trophy because of the country they play for, or just the time that they play in, and there's so much competition in terms of the World Cup anyway with other countries. It's the toughest trophy to win. So I absolutely think it's unfair to base anything on in terms of individual
player's legacy
based off of that fact. Yeah, absolutely. Like if Ronaldo and Messi, this would be, you'd think realistically, this World Cup is their last chance to get their hands on the trophy, which means definitely one of, if not both, are going to miss out on it again. But then because of that, you can't then turn around and say Pele's better because he won the World Cup, or Maradona's better because he won the World Cup. I don't think you can use that argument.
Yeah, I mean, if we're talking about obscure countries with world class players, I mean, one that springs to mind is Robert Lewandowski. He will never get the chance to even be close to get one. I mean, he's still got years left in his career to really solidify his position as a top striker in the last 10 to 15 years. But he's never going to have anything close to a World Cup or a Euros against his name because he plays for Poland. It's too hard. They lack the world class talent around him. Although they are a good footballing country, they're not that good. So yeah, I mean, sometimes we put too much importance. Look, I'm not diminishing the fact that the World Cup is a great trophy, and if you are winning it, you've gone some way to fulfilling obviously a life dream. It's a life dream for most soccer players. I'm sorry, football players. I might offend people by saying that, but look, it's you want to win it, but I don't think it needs to be the kind of factor that can make or break a legacy or a career.
Yeah, and I mean, in the same vein, and this actually might be slightly off topic to what the opinion was, but the World Cup makes players just as much as it diminishes players too. You know, look at James Rodriguez. You know, the World Cup he had in 2014, a breakthrough year, World Cup, won the Golden Boot, bag full of incredible goals, sealed himself a move to Real Madrid. I mean, it didn't quite work out, but I mean, everyone knew who James Rodriguez was after the 2014 World Cup. Everyone knew the name. So yeah, you know, it can make or break a player. Basically, is I think probably a fair assessment.
Yeah, was it Miroslav Klose? I think he's the top World Cup goal scorer. I mean, outside of the German league, you probably barely even heard of him, but he's also the top World Cup goal scorer. So yeah, it definitely it can cement a player's name in sort of, you know, in infamy. But yeah, I don't like when top players are pegged down because they haven't won it.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I agree. No, definitely some good conversations there. A little bit political, in the sense, but that's all right. That's all good. It's good topics. Make sure you leave yours below if you want us to have a discussion on it. If there's an itch there for you to get your opinion out, we want to hear it so we can discuss it on the channel. But that's going to wrap us up. Thanks very much for joining us. We'll see you in the next one. Cheers.